Hi, everyone. A very good morning. Israeli jets have hit central Beirut overnight, killing at least 6 people. Air raid sirens have also sounded on the Israeli side of the border this morning, forcing people to take shelter. It's the second time Israel has struck the centre of the Lebanese capital this week. Lebanon's health ministry says at least 6 people were killed and 7 wounded when the blast hit a block of flats in a residential area. And the Israeli military has intercepted incoming fire across the border from Hezbollah this morning. Our Security and Defence editor Deborah Haynes joins us now from northern Israel. You've been witnessing a lot of activity there this morning, Deborah, haven't you? Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, so we've been in this position for a few days now, and this morning was the first time that we heard 3 successive sirens in this area and then incoming rounds. We ran for cover, which is very typical for people living in this area, and Israel is protected by its Iron Dome air defences and this sophisticated warning system, which means you do have a chance to run for cover. But then we heard the thud of impacts from our shelter, and we also were told, well, the military said afterwards that around 25 projectiles were fired towards northern Israel from Lebanon. And as you were saying, the Iron Dome was in action, blasting some of those incoming rounds out of the sky, but there were definitely impacts. And at the same time, we're hearing the sounds of the war that's going on. I mean, Lebanon is about 5 miles in that direction behind me, and a couple of days ago and yesterday as well, there was a lot of, it sounded like mortar fire fairly in our vicinity. That's like that, for example. But that has been less frequent in this area. However, we are hearing those sorts of sounds coming behind me, which would suggest a movement of troops is into an increased movement of troops across the border into the south, where Israel has said they are intent on pushing all Hezbollah military positions back beyond the Litani River to enable their people, some 60,000 Israeli civilians, to return to their homes on this side of the border. But Hezbollah has made it clear that they are going to resist. And yesterday was the news that 8 Israeli soldiers and several others, eight Israeli soldiers were killed and several others were wounded in clashes with Hezbollah.
Just hearing, Deborah, via the Reuters news agency, that Israel says they have killed 15 Hezbollah fighters in southern Lebanon over the last 24 hours. Speaking to our specialist here in the studio, who is suggesting that he expects more fighting, more serious and intense fighting over the next few days. What's your take?
Yes, I mean, Israel is no stranger to fighting wars in Lebanon. You'll know, of course, that their troops were engaged in that long-standing operation during the 80s and the 90s. It ended with Israel withdrawing its troops in 2000 and then in going back in 2006 for a month-long campaign, a very bloody campaign that ended again in them having to withdraw. So they know very well that it's an incredibly difficult place for them to achieve their objectives against Hezbollah, which has been firing rockets into Israel since the 8th of October last year, a day after the October the 7th attacks by Hamas in the south. And military officials over the course of the last 12 months that I've spoken to have said to me that in normal times, that's another outgoing round, in normal times, the intensity of the Hezbollah fire that had been directed into northern Israel would have triggered a large military operation against Hezbollah by the Israeli military. But you'll have to remember that during that time, Israel's focus was squarely on Hamas in Gaza, where they have conducted this very large military campaign. But as that eased slightly, they then very deliberately said that their focus was shifting to the north. And so what you're seeing now is a delayed response to the nearly 12 months of Hezbollah fire on this side, and a real determination, it would seem, by the Israelis to build on the momentum that they've had in terms of killing Hezbollah leaders, taking out many of their fighters, to try to achieve a goal that they have so far not been able to achieve for so long, and that is to stop Hezbollah firing into Israel.